Alright, so for our lesson we decided to talk about compost, and for our complex question we said how is compost made, and the standard is to ask questions about the organisms and what they obtain from the environment and what they release as waste matter back into the environment. So all of our testable questions will be going off of how is compost made. So for our first one, our first inquiry question is, does water affect the compost? So in order to do this, we're going to start making the compost to begin with, and we're going to use Ziploc, a little extra gallon baggie, for a replica of one, and we're going to start by using some sticks as our initial layer. Then I'm going to add some browns, which I'm going to add some leaves, just whatever outdoor natural resources you have. It could be grass. There's that. I'm going to add some brown leaves. Okay, then I'm going to add the greens, which is, this could be like leftover food, but we're not going to involve meat or any oils. So around the house we can just use some used up lettuce, throw that in there. We could have some leftover corn, some more vegetables, some peas, add that in there, and I'll just add another little layer here. Okay, so that's our brown, and this is our green layer. So I'm just going to redo the process about one more time, and just add some more leaves in here. There you go, that should be good. Okay, so this is our man-made replica of the compost pile. So, our inquiry question, does water affect the compost? For our claim, we said that if we add a lot of water throughout the process, then it will take longer to produce the compost. So usually this takes about 6 months to a year to produce a compost pile. So as of right now, if we add a lot of water, I'm going to use this. Here we go. Let's get it crumbled together. It's all just going to start soaking here towards the bottom, and a lot of the materials are not going to get through the nutrients that we need. So this is just one example. And if we only used a little bit of water, we have here, just a little bit. It's going to slowly keep through, and in like a little bag like this, or a container, or whatever you're going to use, it's just going to keep it moist, and that's what it really needs. And so for our evidence that we just saw, we said too much water will produce crumbling, will reduce the pore space, and it will lower the temperature. Because it's supposed to be really, really warm, it's to be between like 100 and 120 degrees. And if we're going to keep adding a lot of water, like we did here, it's not. As you can see, stuff is already starting to crumble together in there, and it's going to reduce the pore space for the oxygen. So that's our first one.
So we did our next, our inquiry question is, does the bottom layer affect the compost? So we already have one created, so we have one with the initial layer with the twigs, and then the green, or the browns, and then the greens. So we have the layer done right here. So next one is we're going to do a bag without the initial layer. So we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to have the greens and brown just mixed together, and we're going to see if the layer does affect the compost. So first we're going to start out. Our claim was adding twigs and branches to initial layer will allow oxygen to flow through the compost. So we're going to put the greens in first. So this one, it's not going to have any twigs at the bottom. our greens, and then we're going to add our browns. So our browns are, like we said earlier, it's going to be any leaves, any natural resources that you find outside. So we're going to do these. We're going to add a little bit more of our greens. Add beans. Okay, and then we're going to do one more layer of our browns. Just our leaves. So the difference between these two is this one has an initial layer at the bottom, which we have our twigs, and this one doesn't have any twigs. So within, 6 months to a year, you're going to find that this bag without the initial layer of twigs, this one will end up having a funny odor to it. There won't be any oxygen to go through it, so most likely, well actually it'll happen where it'll compact together and it won't create the compost as well as this one will. So the twigs and branches allow air to reach the center of the pile and will not generate unpleasant odors.
Okay, so our inquiry question for this one is, does shaking or rotating the bag help the tying process? So we're going to start off with our browns, our leaves and other natural resources we found outside. And then our greens, some lettuce, some beans, and other food scraps. We'll add another layer of our browns. Now our claim for this one was shaking the bag will not help the tying process. So we're not going to shake this one, we're going to leave it alone. And then we have this one that we already prepared and we shook it up. I'm going to shake it just a little more. And in a 6-month period, you will find that shaking the bag actually does help the tying process. It helps mixes and break down the ingredients.